So I'm Cynthia Allen. And if you can hear me now, please do say so in the comments. Yes, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. By the way, Facebook users, if you take a moment to register on StreamYard, I'll actually see your name in your comments. Otherwise, I can't see your name. I can see your comments, but I can't see your names. It just only takes a second. Same thing for YouTubers. Okay, so sorry for that interruption. I'm Cynthia Allen, and I'm going to be exploring with you a variety of different ways that we can clarify our thinking over the next few days through June 1st. Pretty much every day, I'll be going into some different aspect. Today, we're going to be talking about respecting yourself. But before we start talking about respecting yourself, I want to talk about why I'm going to be digging into these little topics. So Dr. Feldenkrais said that we had several elements that we needed to really being a great, a growing human being, I would say, a growing human being. And they were sensing, thinking, feeling, action. And we do a lot with sensing, feeling, and action in Feldenkrais awareness through movement lessons. But I have found that sometimes we don't clarify our thinking because we assume that people will pick up from the meta language what is being expressed, what is being held in the teaching. But I find that that's really not true for many people. Many people can do Feldenkrais awareness through movement lessons for quite a long time and not really get the connections to the rest of their life. So I want to explore that with you, and I want to explore it in a number of ways so that we can clarify our thinking. Today, the topic is respecting yourself. Respecting yourself. So you're welcome to absolutely put in a little comment over there as you like, and a comment or a question, and I'm happy to try and work it in. But I want to start with, have you actually ever thought about respecting yourself? It's really common to hear people today say, don't disrespect me. You're not respecting me. But I don't think we often really take in our own ability to express regard for ourselves, express regards for ourselves. So, I really like this a quote. I'm going to really actually the definition from the Webster's Dictionary, which is to act in a way that shows you're aware of someone's rights in a proper way. It also says to feel admiration for someone or something, to regard someone or something as being worthy of inspiration, of good qualities, of admiration and of good qualities. Well, how do you feel about yourself? And really, many of us might say on the surface, I do respect myself, but then we might actually not be putting that into action. You can probably think of other people that you respect, and you could, start popping those down into the comments, right? But would you be on the list? And even if you didn't feel free to express that for some reason to other people, maybe you would be free to express it to yourself. Maybe you would be free to express it to yourself. So let's dig into that a little bit. I'm trying really hard here to learn these new little gadgets on StreamYard, so I'm sorry about a little bit of my awkwardness here. So when you think about yourself, do you think that you behave towards yourself in a way that shows respect? Do you behave towards yourself in a way that shows respect? In a westernized culture, you are typically taught, at least before COVID, I think COVID is going to have changed this for us in a big way, to work until you're sick, even work through sickness, We're taught no pain, no gain. We're taught feel the burn. You snooze, you lose, right? There's all kinds of mantras that are instilled in us from a really early age. And absolutely, it's wonderful to know that you can achieve. It's wonderful to know that you can achieve. There's nothing wrong with being able to achieve, either by working hard or by, climbing Kilimanjaro or running a marathon, or getting your garden in, or, getting your house really completely cleaned up. There's nothing wrong with that, right? We're not saying that. But when we don't have a good balance between achievement or pushing ourselves at the right moments, the right times, and laying back, then we start to get into trouble. And this is one of the underlying elements that we're trying to teach in the Feldenkrais method, is to respect yourself. And so here we start to value things that are like less pain, more gain, right? To use the right amount of energy for the task. So it's a very smart kind of approach where you might stop and go, is there another way I could use myself, or I can use the environment to accomplish this? Does it always have to be in this particular hard fashion or not? That we have the ability to snooze when we need to, that we don't always push ourselves, that we sometimes can take a break. And a break can be as short as just stopping and going, right? Like right now, we're in cicada land here in Cincinnati. Our 17-year brood has hatched. We're probably about halfway to the decibel point. It's getting pretty loud in our backyard, a little hard on my ears, like it's a tone that's starting to bother my ears a little bit. But still, at this point at least, I'm enjoying going out and going, oh, listen to the sounds coming up and down, right? And now a few cicadas are flying around. And so there's little ways that we can take breaks and a moment to appreciate, to enjoy ourselves, to give ourselves a rest, right? And sometimes it's actually taking a real literal snooze or some other kind of break that you want to take. Now, when we think about respect, we might also think about how we place ourselves into other relationships. And in relationship to other people, it's especially like classes, like people that we use to mentor us, teach us. I think this is a really important value to consider. That does the person that I'm going to see show respect for me? What is it we're wanting them to what does that mean, right? Let's say in the context of physical movement, what does it mean? Well, I think that both you and the person that you're seeing should be really placing some attention towards respect for our history. Now, maybe you only know what's happened to you, and that's fine. You don't have to share your history with everyone, but our history does make a big difference, right? It makes a big difference, at least up to a certain point. It does. Our beliefs, our feelings, and sometimes we show up in certain environments in which you can tell almost immediately that you'll get this funny feeling that your beliefs, your values are not really going to be respected. They're not. You're going to have to sort of fight for that. Now, there are some teaching environments in which that could be purposeful, but for most of what we explore today, we're not signing on with that kind of contract with a teacher. We're instead signing on for a contract for a teacher to pace with us where we are, and not necessarily to give us a big awakening that might happen when somebody is really pushing you. So I'm not really a fan of really pushing you. I'm really a fan of pacing with you. We also all have individual structures. Now that's really a big deal. And, people are born with all kinds of different organization structural issues. We think there are the normal and the abnormal, the atypical and the typical, but really we're all quite different. And some of those differences actually make a lot of difference in, some of those differences could make quite a lot of difference in how we move along effectively without hurting ourselves, and actually enjoying the process and really learning to live and use our particular structure in the best way possible. So, this can be understanding that someone who's had post-polio syndrome is not going to have the same leg, foot, muscle structure. It's going to take them a different amount of time to process ideas, that things that maybe are findable in a so-called typical foot might not be so findable in that person's foot. And me asking that person to try and find that is not really reasonable. It's going to cause a feeling of less than, right? Or that I'll never be able to do this. Yes, Ruth, I agree that a really challenging teacher could be very helpful in provocation therapy. I mean, there are places for it. You just want to know for sure that you're signing up for that, and you want to know you're signing up for it and that you've got a quality teacher for it. So we want teachers that respect our history. We want to respect our own history, right? Some of us disrespect what has happened to us. And that can be a growth phase. Like we're not really ready to accept what has happened to us. And that's okay. We're allowed to have that as our place to be. But eventually we would hope that we would find some kind of enough reconciliation, enough resources within, which I believe Feldenkrais Awareness Through Movement, Feldenkrais Functional Integration can help you find those resources so that you can become okay with your history. Okay, I do believe that can happen. That we want someone to respect our beliefs and our feelings. And when they respect our beliefs and our feelings, it's sometimes, it goes back and forth, right? You start to be able to respect it better. If I respect you, you respect it better. You start to feel more at home with yourself. But it's also still always our own responsibility to walk away from situations where that's not happening. So we've got history, beliefs, our feelings, our structure. And here's a big one: our right to choose what's best for ourselves. Our right to choose what's best for ourselves. This is huge. This is huge. So in a really good awareness through movement class, you are being guided to make those choices for yourself. And you gradually become better at it. And what does better mean? Better doesn't mean you gradually get better at doing exactly what the teacher says. This is different. It doesn't mean that you get better at doing exactly what the teacher says. It means that you get better at sensing, feeling, thinking, and acting for yourself. So that means it may not look exactly like everybody else. And that when we look around the room and we see someone else doing something, we might notice if we feel competitive, or we feel shamed, or we feel despair, or we feel inspired, or if we just feel like, oh, that's different. I mean, there's so many options, but they come out of this right to choose for ourselves. Now, that also means accepting the right to choose for yourself as well. So it's really common when people come that they are asked to be shown, to show me how to do something. And we're not a good show me method. We are a good discovery method, but we're not a good show me method. We're a good breaking open the neuroplasticity. Where to unlock, my new course, right, is called Unlocking Your Learning Body. 7 keys to unlocking your learning body. And one of the keys, the first key, is respecting yourself. And if that's not like an overnight sensation. That's most of these keys are things that you can keep engaging with for life, and they will keep gradually growing in, because we're organic human beings and we can continue to grow through our entire lives. Now, Ruth says it's like better not to compare with ourselves, to compare with others. It is probably better. Maybe. I'm not sure. I think it is for sure a natural thing to do. And then it is also something to learn not to do. And sometimes when we compare, we can become inspired or get ideas. I think it has a lot to do with how we end up turning it in our mind, right? Sometimes we compare with other people and we turn that in our mind as a weapon kind of against ourselves. I think that's what we have to be careful against. We also will sometimes compare ourselves and turn it as a weapon sort of against the other person. And that is we'll feel superior to someone else. And I think both of these are not places that we want to get stuck in. Not places that we want to get stuck in. So, how is it that we teach respect within the Feldenkrais method? How is it that we teach it within the Feldenkrais method? Well, we first really encourage you to stay within your own comfort range. And we try to make a set of conditions for you so that you begin to identify your comfort range. If you've never really had an opportunity to feel comfortable, you don't actually often know you're uncomfortable. So one of our examples of that actually in a class might be to spend quite a lot of time helping people just put different heights of things under their head while they're lying on their back. Because people will lie on their back and they will look really uncomfortable. Like from an expert point of view, I'm thinking, whoa, is that comfortable? It doesn't look comfortable. It looks like a lot of neck strain. And for the person though, they're used to it. So it's familiar, and the familiar is often confused with the comfortable, or they just don't realize there's any other options. So we give a lot of options. And if we take you through a variety of options of putting one towel under your head, and then 2 towels, and then 3 towels, and then going back down to none, and then coming back up and going back down to none, and nice pauses between, you begin to go, yeah. Now that's starting to feel different. I didn't know that could feel that way. And that was one of my first experiences in the work, was walking around going, whoa, now see, I didn't know you could feel like this. So I knew I was uncomfortable, but I didn't really know it was possible to feel comfortable. So if you don't know that's possible, you can't really make any choices around it, yeah? Now, another way that we do it is we slow things way down in the movement. So maybe your first movement, let's say it's a shoulder, and maybe your first movement is something like that. Like when a teacher says, raise your shoulder towards your ear, and you go, okay, that's great. Right? The other one, raise the shoulder towards the ear. Okay, yeah, I did it. And then we might start to say things like, now raise it the next time at half that speed. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Oh, hey, that doesn't feel as smooth. So now the brain is starting to notice some differences. And then they might even say, now do that at 1/4 the speed. Oh, now that's interesting. Now I just felt a little glitchiness, like that's not even comfortable, actually, that I couldn't notice before, that it happens really early for me, that I get just a little bit of discomfort. But I was overriding all that when I was doing this, right? So by using our words to help you slow things down, we begin to teach you how to take better care of yourself. Taking better care of yourself is respecting yourself. It is respecting yourself. We also encourage you to listen carefully to the instructions one time and then the next time, and then we keep changing the language. And that is another way of clarifying your thinking, clarifying what is it that you are able to notice. We give a lot of reflective questions to help you start to begin to notice more deeply. And it's not that we know everything about you. We don't. And we're not withholding information from you. Instead, our job is sort of more like, how do we guide you in a path of discovery? So it's really a lot like being explorers and mapping out a completely new territory. Together, we're mapping out a completely new territory, and that's the territory of you. That's the territory of you. So when we go back to something I said earlier, where people say, just show me how, that is not mapping out the territory of you. If I show you how, that's mapping out some territory of myself, with some assumption, first of all, that I know how to move at a more optimal way than you do, which may or may not be true. And it's also the way that is right for me right now. It's not necessarily the way that is right for you right now. We also encourage people to ignore our instructions. Like maybe I might go by and place a pad under some person's head. I might say, would you mind? Could I put a little something under your head in a live class? And then almost always what I say is, and if you don't like it, try it for a moment. And if you don't like it, throw it off to the side. Just get rid of it. And this is really, really, again, important, because I don't want to be in the business of overriding their sensation. Unless I really see something that looks dangerous, I don't want to be in the business of overriding their sensation, their thinking. We're just guiding. We're not telling people how to do things. So having the right to ignore the teacher, or to not only ignore, or to change, right? You do what you make your own modifications, your own adjustments. Now you might hear the teacher say something like, hey, doing it that way is okay, but that's actually not the direction we're leading in this lesson, because sometimes we have constraints in the lessons that are designed to help you map new territory. Otherwise, we have a tendency to go where we've always gone. But even within that, we still have choice. We still have choice. And then I think the last one that I would really like to bring up as part of respecting yourself is to acknowledge what is our own current physical limitations or emotional limitations. Like maybe the level of frustration in doing awareness through movement at this moment is just too much, like an anxiety or frustration, or an emotional feeling that could be overwhelming if we continued. So it can happen on an emotional level. It can happen on a physical level. And it's really, I think, very important to know that not every movement is for everybody. And sometimes a movement is just not meant for our body today, but it might be okay for that person tomorrow, or in a week from now, or a month from now, or a year from now. It takes time to map new territory. It takes time to map new territory. It takes time to learn to respect ourselves. It's a journey. It is a process. So it goes back to Moshe Feldenkrais's quote, life is a process, and when processes go well, when we have more than one way to influence them. Now, right now, I am taking registrations for my annual Unlocking Your Learning Body. And within that course, we go over we go over the 7 keys to unlocking your learning body. And then we have a lesson. So we talk about a key each week. We have a lesson each week. We have small and large group discussions to clarify our thinking. Sometimes people tell me I don't want the discussion. Okay. I mean, that's a choice. You can make that choice. But I think that for people mostly who are willing to hang in for the parts of it that also include some lecture, their staying power and the volume of what they get within the lesson, I do think is generally much bigger. But again, you always have choices. So anyway, that course is open right now. It closes for new registrations on June 1st, and the first classes start the week of June 7th. So I hope that, you're thinking about it. You can also continue on in our membership and just keep diving deeper with me and the community over the next months. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you joining me. Thanks, Ruth. I love that you commented so many times. And Breath Life, I'm not sure what your first name is, but you're welcome. Thank you for being here. And I know there's others of you out there that are watching. I see that there's some extra people watching, but I thanks, Ruth, for the extra comments and conversations. It's nice to know somebody is lively in there. Bye, everybody.